you come and be with us tonight as we go forth to handle the business of the county and community. And we just ask that all minds and hearts be clear and understanding as to the business that is before us. We just ask in your son, in Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, commissioners, approval of the minutes from our last meeting. If you've had a chance to review them, are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I so move that we accept the minutes from last communication.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rollins, seconded by Mr. Young. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Subdivisions, Pendleton Land Development. Mr. Pennington.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Your subdivision case is SB 02-2024 for Pendleton Section 17. The applicant's requesting preliminary plat approval for the next section of the Pendleton subdivision to be constructed. Page 2 of the plat shows the location of Section 17 in relation to the overall layout of the Pendleton subdivision. This plat will create 87 townhouse lots, be served by the existing subdivision roads. The preliminary plat is consistent with the Caroline County zoning and subdivision ordinances and is a by right subdivision. RZ 1499 approved a total of 3,508 dwelling units within the Pendleton subdivision. As of January 2025, a total of 656 units have been constructed, leaving 2,852 units to be constructed. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat at this time. This concludes the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioners, any questions at this point? Hearing none, does the applicant wish to speak? Well, Mr. Pennington, I do have one question. From what we have seen so far, are the townhouses to have an attached or enclosed garage as well as a parking space in the driveway?
They're required to provide 2 parking spaces. I'd have to defer to the applicant on the garage or not.
All right, sir. And just to follow up on that, there is only one entrance to this section coming in off of Edmund Pendleton Drive. Is that one entrance going to be sufficient for the traffic flow?
Yes, VDOT approved the entrance as it is, and there's no need for an extra entrance according to VDOT.
Okay. And I assume that all of the external extra parking spaces are going to be conforming to the new standards?
They'll have to meet the new parking standards.
Okay, very good. That's all I have, sir. Thank you. Commissioners, do you have anything else?
Mr. Pennington, the RZ 1499, when approved, total dwelling units, those are single family units? Is that what?
The number 3,508 includes apartments, townhouses, and single family detached dwellings.
Okay. All right. Do you have a breakdown? You don't remember offhand, right?
They're allowed a certain number of each, but no, I do not have the breakdown.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, commissioners, any further discussion? If not, is there a motion? I'll make one then. Whereas the preliminary plat submitted appears to meet the requirements of the zoning and subdivision ordinance, I recommend that SB 01-2025 for Pendleton Section 17 be approved as submitted.
A second.
Okay. Motion by the chair, seconded by Mr. Young. Any further discussion? There being no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Item 5A was deferred at the request of the applicant. Mr. Pennington, if you would be so kind as to read the protocol for public hearings.
Mr. Chairman, to accept the deferral of item 5A, there would need to be a motion
There
to
would
accept
be.
that.
Okay. All right, I so move that we abide by the recommendation of deferral. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. This item will be deferred to our next regular meeting.
Thank you. Public hearing protocol. The purpose of a public hearing is for the Caroline County Planning Commission to listen carefully to the verbal expression, position, and opinion from citizens of Caroline County. Public hearings are not question and answer sessions or debates, and all statements should be addressed to the chair. When members of the public offer comment, they need to clearly state their name and voting district prior to making comments. Applicants or representatives of the applicant will be allowed 15 minutes to introduce information regarding the matter advertised for public hearing. All comments are to be pertinent to the issue being considered. Persons speaking at public hearings are respectfully requested to keep comments brief, not to exceed 3 minutes, and to address only those issues pertinent to the matters advertised for public hearing. After the public hearing has been closed, the applicant or representatives of the applicant will be allowed 10 minutes to address any issues identified by the public.
Thank you, sir. Presentation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. First public hearing tonight, SPEX 01-2025, ACT Holdings, Stone Manufacturing. The applicant's requesting approval of a special exception permit for manufacturing of stone shale products, brick, tile, and concrete products pursuant to Article 10, Section 3.8 of the Caroline County Zoning Ordinance. The subject property is located in the Ladysmith Industrial Park on tax map number 52D225 at the northeast corner of Commerce Way and Center Drive. The portion of Ladysmith Industrial Park nearest Ladysmith Road is zoned B1 commercial, while the rear portion of the industrial park is zoned M1 for industrial uses. The subject property is adjacent to the vacant parcels of approximately 1 acre zoned M1 manufacturing to the east and south. An HVAC contractor is located across Commerce Way to the southeast, and a tow service storage lot is located directly across Center Drive in the northwest corner of the intersection. The property to the north is approximately 77 acres of rural preservation zoned vacant land that is designated by the comprehensive plan for future commercial and industrial development. A site plan for a tenant building with 7 tenant spaces was approved in July 2024. 5 of the spaces are front-loaded and accessed by an entrance off Commerce Way. These spaces are intended to be used for office and other similar low-intensity uses. The structure also has 2 tenant spaces that are rear-loaded and accessed by an entrance from Center Drive. The special exception request is for a stone manufacturer to occupy one of the rear access spaces. The proposed stone manufacturing business provides custom countertop products. The use will not have a showroom or pickup of finished products. All design work is done at the location of the installation, and finished product is delivered. All of the finishing work will be conducted wholly within the building. The use will utilize a closed-loop water system for the stone cutting. A water tank will be filled once, and all water used during the stone cutting is recycled through a filter system and reused. Other than the initial fill-up of the tank and topping off the tank periodically to replace evaporated water, there will be no additional demand on the public utility water system. All stone dust created from the stone cutting operation is collected via a vacuum system on the saw, bagged, and sold or given to other businesses that utilize stone dust. Manufacturing uses such as blacksmith, welding shop, manufacture of pottery and ceramic products, or manufacture of tools, machinery, or sheet metal products are by right uses in the M1 zoning district, and the intensity of the stone manufacturing operation is similar to these other by right manufacturing uses. Staff offers the following conditions for the Planning Commission to consider if there is a recommendation of approval. The 2 which shall be recorded in the circuit court within 30 days of receipt. Any outdoor storage shall be screened by opaque fencing. No storage of debris or surplus materials from the manufacturing process shall be stored outside. All manufacturing processes shall take place within a fully enclosed building or structure. and shipping containers shall not be used as an accessory storage structure. And that concludes the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioners, any questions of Mr. Pennington at this time?
Yeah, Mr. Pennington. Number 2 and number 3, you said any outdoor storage shall be screened, but then in number 3, you said no storage of debris or surplus. What would that storage be if they were to store it on it outside?
So the number 3, speaking to no surplus or debris, would be their bags of stone dust that they sell or give to another company, or any pieces of granite or marble that's left out from the manufacturing process. The storage is they would receive shipments of large pieces of stone for them to cut and manufacture. And so if they stored those outside, then it would require screening.
Okay. Would that require any further explanation? You know, cut stone as opposed to not cut stone?
We can clarify the condition if you like.
Just a question. Yeah. Okay. Just, you know, wouldn't want it to be a storage facility, so to speak.
Correct.
Yeah. And, you know, especially that could be an enforcement nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I believe that's all we have at this time. Thank you, sir. Would the applicant care to speak? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Mark Van Gorder, and I am the actual owner of the building. The tenant is the occupier of the space that will be doing the manufacturing.
All right, sir.
So this is a to order? Do they do it by order, or are they going to? So let's say if I want to do a countertop in my house, is it by order production, or do they do mass production?
No, it's by order. So just a little background on how they do it. Let's say there's a request for someone to have a countertop installed at their home or new construction. They'll send someone out to do the measuring, bring those measurements back to the facility, and then cut the countertops to those specifications, and then deliver them to the site and install them.
So then any kind of chemicals they use to make in this process? None?
Nope, just water.
So, will they be selling directly to the consumer?
Yes.
So then did we say no showroom or no, how are they gonna make these sales online?
So they have samples that they use to show the different types of stone they have available.
So someone would have to come in.
No, they have small pieces that they use to show as examples for the different types of stone.
But what I'm asking is how would they meet the client,
Well, generally
the
they're,
customer?
yeah, they would meet them at their home, or they would be working with a contractor that would secure the work.
Okay, so probably lots of times they'll be working with contractors, I'm guessing.
Correct. Yes. That's generally going to be the client that they would be working with. But again, there could be homeowners also.
They have a website yet?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so is this their first? Okay,
No, they're currently in business. They're using a different location in Fredericksburg, and they'll be moving their operation to the Ladysmith once we get everything approved.
okay.
Sir, I have a couple questions. One, what size tank would they be using? Water tank?
Well, it's 1,000 gallons.
Okay. And what's the frequency on refilling that?
I'm not sure about the frequency. Obviously, it's going to depend on how much work they do. So there's a large reclamation pit that all the water goes into, and then they filter all of the water out, or the the stuff that's in the water out and then just keep recycling the water. So it's kind of like a car wash where they use the water and they just keep reusing the water. I don't know what the time frame is to how much it will be to refill it. I don't have an answer.
Thank you.
Mr. Pennington, I have a question. So I know we got two things in front of us tonight from the same holding. So why do they both have the same address?
It's a building that has 7 tenant spaces in it. And so the stone manufacturer is asking to occupy one of the 7 tenant spaces. And then the auto repair that'll be coming up next is asking to occupy one of the other tenant spaces.
Because that was kind of puzzling to me. So if a fire broke out in one of the buildings, they would give this address, but once they got there, they would have to someone had to direct them to what section of the big building the fire is in. I mean, I would have thought that each unit would have had its own address. So that's not required.
Addressing is handled by the GIS department, but it's one building, one structure on one lot. And so if a fire broke out, it would be at that one building.
Okay.
And each tenant space will have its own address once occupied.
Okay.
Mr. Pennington, since we're on the subject of fire, I noted the comments that from Fire and Rescue that says we'll need an additional hydrant at rear entrance. Where do we stand on that? Because I don't see it in the conditions.
Fire Rescue requested that the Planning Commission place a condition on the case to add a fire hydrant at the Center Drive entrance. It's up to the Planning Commission if they want to add that condition or not.
Would that be, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
would that be one hydrant? Because both of them are asking for a hydrant. Would that be one to service the entire building
Yes.
for both? Okay.
Currently, there's a fire hydrant across Center Drive,
Yes.
and even though it's on both staff reports, it's one building, they're just requesting one fire hydrant. Across the street? No. You want to?
Mr. Van Gorder,
I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify that. There's actually 2 fire hydrants. One is across the street. Do you have that picture of those site plans? I'm sorry, it could be easier to see if they have the site plan. So if you can see right here on the screen, there's a fire hydrant located right here. And then there's an additional one located right here on this corner. So there's 2 within the site. I think they were asking for one back here, but there are 2 located right in the front of the building here. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, thank you. But you would be utilizing the back, the rear of the building, correct?
For these uses, yes.
Yes, so that's probably why they are requiring an additional hydrant in the back because of the hose length. Okay.
Can I ask what type of noise you think will come out of the building?
Shouldn't be any noise coming out of the building. The equipment that they use is all run with water. So inside everything is contained inside the building. So there wouldn't be anything that would be noise-wise sent outside.
Thank you.
all right, sir, I believe that's all unless someone else has a question.
No,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, commissioners, any discussion?
Can we get clarification on that second fire hydrant?
yes, I would like to see that
Yeah.
in place.
maybe Mr. Pennington can point it out quickly for us.
So currently, there's a fire hydrant right here
Right.
at the Commerce Way entrance, and there's one across Center Drive over here next to the tow lot. Fire Rescue is requesting one at this back entrance, either side. They're requesting a condition that would require a fire hydrant on one side of this entrance.
All right, thank you, sir. Has any construction begun already?
Yes, the building is almost finished.
Okay. How about sidewalks and parking areas?
They're not installed yet, but the site's close to being finished up. And they'll have to do the parking and sidewalks in accordance with the site plan that was approved in 2024.
Okay, very good. That answers my question. Thank you. All right, commissioners, as far as discussion, I think it would be remiss of us if we did not follow the recommendations of the fire administrators for the additional fire hydrant at the rear of the vehicle. If you'll notice, it's over 200 feet from the fire hydrant at the front of the property to the rear. Should an automotive repair shop go into place at the rear of the property, by nature, automotive industry uses flammable liquids, but a fire could break out anywhere. Coming from a firefighting background myself, to lay down over 200 feet of fire hose can put a strain on your equipment. One of the reasons that the fire department is requesting that third hydrant is to prevent vehicles from having to drive over a charged fire hose. Doing so can damage equipment and can damage or injure the firefighters on the front end of that hose. Also, should a tragedy occur and someone be injured or killed, either in the buildings or on the property, or a firefighter in the fighting of a fire, I think the county could be civilly liable if we have been given notice by the fire administration that that hydrant is needed and we don't require it. And for that reason, I'm going to ask that a condition be added on that that third hydrant at the rear of the building be required. Any discussion on that?
I agree with you on that wholeheartedly.
All right. So, Mr. Pennington, we will be making a condition. Well, I like the plan. I like what they want to do there. But I think we're going to have to require that additional hydrant as part of the conditions. So however the planning department wishes to pencil that in as item number, or condition number 6.
Would that be an approved with modifications?
Well, we've still got to have a public hearing on it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is going to be one of the conditions. Yes, sir.
Would it also just carry over to the next one, or do we want to discuss that?
Yeah, that'll be for the whole property. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to open the public hearing. If there is anyone who wishes to speak regarding SPEX 01 2025, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this matter, please come forward. Seeing and hearing no one coming forward, the public hearing is now closed. Mr. Pennington, you have any additional? And does the applicant has no additional? All right, commissioners, if there is no further discussion, is there a motion?
Yeah,
Your
Go
district.
ahead.
No, it's your district.
yeah, I know it is. Whereas special exception requests 01/2025 for, I know it's ACT,
Act Holdings LLC.
Ad Holdings LLC appears to generally be consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan and future land use map. And whereas the public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practices warrants the approval of this request, I recommend that SPEX 01/2025 be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval.
Motion has been made for
With the
approval.
following changes.
With the
With the 6,
Right.
thank you, conditions added
With the conditions as listed.
on page 3 and 1.
There being no further
Mr.
discussion.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
did you want to add a condition?
Yes, sir. I thought we did.
Yeah, we did
Additional
page
hydrant is
1, the
required,
fire hydrant, and there's 5 conditions on page 3.
because we're only voting
Those are the
on
conditions, yeah.
one at a time.
So there's 6 of them recommended, correct?
Correct. By my count. All right. Motion for approval with the conditions as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I'll second it.
Yeah, we,
Yeah, you
You already had. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Now we can move on to the second one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The second public hearing tonight is SPEX 02/2025, ACT Holdings Minor Auto Repair. As spoken in the previous public hearing, this is the same piece of property as the last report. And this one's asking for a minor auto repair to use the second tenant space on the rear entrance. The proposed minor auto repair facility will be conducted within a rear unit in the existing tenant building. There are currently 5 extra parking spaces designated for the 2 rear bays of the building that will allow for the storage of up to 5 cars awaiting repair at one time. Minor auto repair does not allow for engine transmission replacement or chassis repair and will be limited to minor repair items such as fluid changes, inspections, or replacement of parts. No overhauls of vehicle or bodywork and painting are allowed under this designation. A previous special exception permit SPEX 02/2016 for motor vehicle minor repair service was approved on this same parcel in October of 2016. This special exception permit was voided in 2019 because the use never commenced. And staff offers the following suggested conditions for the planning commission, 2 which shall be recorded within 30 days. No more than 5 vehicles awaiting repair shall be parked on the property at one time. No storage of inoperable vehicles shall be allowed on the property unless awaiting repair and not for more than 90 days while awaiting repair. All vehicles awaiting repair must be parked in a designated parking space as shown on the approved site plan. All fluids and/or parts must be stored within a fully enclosed building or structure and disposed of properly. No vehicles stored or parked on the property shall be used for parts or salvage. All storage must be inside of a fully enclosed building or structure, and shipping containers shall not be used as an accessory storage structure. And that concludes the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, so we would not need to include a fire hydrant requirement since it's already been done on the previous matter, correct?
That would be correct. It's the same parcel.
So then who is responsible for the fire hydrant then?
The applicant owner would be responsible for the fire hydrant. Prior to getting a certificate of occupancy, they would have to have the fire hydrant installed, which would include having a site plan done for the fire hydrant installation.
But are you saying the owner of the building or the
They're,
applicant?
they're the same. The owner of the building and the
Okay.
applicant are the same.
Anyone else? I hate putting that on the applicant, knowing that he had a prior approval, but apparently it was the additional hydrant was overlooked or whatever, but it has since been caught, and I hope in a timely manner. So we're just going to have to go forward with that.
You may want to put the condition on this one as well, in case this use got the CO before the stone manufacturer.
Good point. So, commissioners, is there any objection to making condition number 9, the additional hydrant being required? Hearing no objection.
Just so long as we know that this is the same fire hydrant
Yeah.
that we were talking about in the last case, 01/2025.
So noted. All right, commissioners, any further discussion?
I have a question on commercial vehicles. So what step up would that be for us? Would it be tractor trailers, dump trucks, or 2-ton or 3/4 pickups? What would be that limitation when it goes from regular to commercial? Because I see in the notes here that you had that there would have to be an upgrade to the building to do commercial vehicle repair.
That would be a building code requirement, and so that would be up to the building official.
Which brings up a good point. If Joe Schmo's paint company has a pickup truck, a standard pickup truck that needs repair, and it's got Joe Schmo's paint shop on the doors, would that be classified as a commercial vehicle?
That would be up to the building official as well.
If they wanted to push it, I guess they could. Or if they could accept it as a standardized motor vehicle, I don't know. But that's not going to be our problem, is it?
The building official will require permitting for any upgrades that have to take place in the building.
Okay. All right, so that would be all that I have. Commissioners, any further questions or discussion?
Sometimes a commercial vehicle is a car.
Yeah.
Like Mary Maids, or, I don't know, I would like to somehow get this defined before we move forward, because
I think maybe if a condition could be in there for the weight capacity would identify
that
the
sounds,
difference in what is commercial, because you're right, all of that would be commercial. But the weight capacity would change the use there.
Yeah, here
So-
again, I think that would come under the building official to make that determination. That would be,
There is a weight capacity in the definitions for minor auto repair of 25,000 pounds or less.
Thank you. That's still a lot.
12.5 tons.
There's no condition on the commercial vehicles. That's just the building official comment as to if it's going to address commercial vehicles, it would need to be upgraded. And so it's not conditioned that way.
Okay.
Can you show me on the layout, right, the drawing, the 5 parking spots, and if there were to be 5 vehicles waiting a repair, so would they use the same 5 parking spots, or are there other, where's the 5 parking spots for the needing repair?
Doesn't look like my pointer is working any longer, but
Yeah, it's working.
on the rear of the lot, there's 15 parking spaces, and 5 have to be designated for the stone manufacturer, and 5 have to be designated for the auto repair for customers to come in. And then so there's 5 extra spaces for cars awaiting repair.
That would have to include employee parking as well, wouldn't it?
That would be in the 5 required parking spots, not the 5 extra parking spots.
Getting back one more time, you're saying the commercial vehicle, that's not in the conditions. That's just a comment from the building officials.
Correct.
That's something that has to be, okay.
Mhm.
'Cause I'd certainly think anything, like a car, that's a commercial vehicle. Or a van, or, a pickup.
And here again, since it is a minor repair, if it were a large commercial vehicle or tractor and trailer, dump truck, that may be something that is out of the realm of possibilities for them to work on at this location.
So those would not be allowed under the definition for a minor auto repair.
You saying a dump truck would not be?
No. It's over the weight limit in the minor auto repair definition.
Smaller dump trucks, I mean, they're less than 25,000.
I believe that would be considered a commercial vehicle by the building official. Again, that would fall under the building official for permitting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Yeah, 6-wheel dump truck is less than 25. Okay.
But here again, that's something that the building official can deal with on an as-needed basis, maybe.
Yeah, we'll just leave it up to them. It seemed like we've got a gray area here that should be straightened out before, but we'll just let the building official handle it.
Don't forget about public hearings.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to open a public hearing regarding this matter. Is there anyone wishing to speak regarding this special exception? Anyone wishing to speak? No, seeing no one coming forward, public hearing is closed. All right, commissioners, any further discussion?
Yeah, I have one more question for the applicant.
Yes, sir.
So,
Let him come down first, please.
so how many units you have in the building?
7 total.
So the other 5 units, you don't have any idea what's going to be occupying those units yet?
Yeah, we have 2 of them already.
So with that, the sound, the noise and stuff from the repair shop, would that be having an effect on your other client, on your other leases?
So the building is split in half horizontally, and there's a 8-inch concrete wall that goes 19 feet tall and the length of the building. So that sound from the backside really won't go through that 8-inch concrete wall.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
No problem. And I just wanted to clarify about the auto repair. They won't be working on commercial vehicles as far as overloaded. They have equipment that can only handle, like a lift that can only pick up, cars and light trucks. So they wouldn't be able to pick up a big, large vehicle. They're not planning on doing any of those kind of jobs.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No problem. Thank you.
And actually, I'm not worried about that so much as, small commercial vehicles. It sounds like should be allowed, small commercial, like the cars that the companies like Simply Tidy and Mary Maids. It seems like the building official should allow that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the commercial designation is just about the large size of the vehicle, not necessarily that it's a company vehicle, if that helps at all.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
Right. I think that's that's the way I understood it, but
Okay, thank you.
no problem. Anybody?
All right, there being nothing else, is there a motion?
Whereas special exception request 02-2025 for Act Holdings appears to be generally consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan and future land use map, and whereas the public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practices warrants the approval of this request, I recommend that 02-2025 be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval.
Is there a second?
With the
With the
following,
conditions on page, there's 9 conditions on page
3?
3.
Add the fire.
to include
Yeah, to include the
fire
fire hydrant is number 9.
I second.
Okay, motion by Dr. Horton, seconded by Mr. Young. There being no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. This will be forwarded with a recommendation of approval. Commissioners, RZ 04-2024 and SPEX 03-2025. We will have 2 presentations, 1 public hearing, and 2 votes. Mr. Pennington, if you please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm only going to do one presentation for both cases. You are correct. We'll have two motions afterwards. The applicant's requesting approval of a rezoning from RP Rural Preservation to M1 Manufacturing in order to request a special exception permit for a data center on tax map number 52-A-66. Property consists of 87.53 acres and is bounded to the west by Interstate 95 and a vacant portion of tax map 53-A-66, zoned RP. To the south by 213 acres of vacant land zoned RP, and to the east by Bull Church Road and 553 acres across Bull Church Road zoned M1 RP, and to the north by 95 acres zoned M1 that was previously the Virginia Bazaar. The parcels to the north and the east currently have site plan submissions for data centers as by right uses, which occurred prior to an amendment of the zoning ordinance on December 10th, 2024, designating data center as a special exception use in the M1 district. Madison Elementary School is located approximately 1.25 miles north from the site on Chance Place. The applicant's GDP for the project shows 3 data center buildings towards the southern property line, a 10-acre substation bordering the property to the north, and secured site access from Bull Church Road, along with associated roads and facilities. The proposed footprint of each 2-story building shown is 132,000 square feet. According to the applicant's narrative, the proposed data center campus would be constructed over several years with a proposed build-out of 2029. The GDP also depicts several areas of the property that could be utilized for additional development, shown in pink. The proffer statement limits these areas to an additional 540,000 square feet of data center use, an additional 34,000 square feet of light industrial uses, and an additional 160,000 square feet of warehouse or distribution uses, or any use or combination of uses that do not increase the projected 2029 build-out traffic volumes identified in the turn lane warrant analysis, which is 600 vehicles per day. The project has a potential for a total of approximately 1.3 million square feet. The project site development will be subject to the county's Chesapeake Bay regulations. The GDP depicts the western portion of the property as containing resource protection area and wetlands. The proposed layout minimizes impacts to the environmentally sensitive areas. Should the rezoning and special exception request be approved, the Department of Environmental Quality will review the plans for compliance with stormwater management regulations. The proposed entrance for the project, located to the left of the picture provided, is from Bull Church Road, which is a secondary road with an unposted speed limit and a pavement width of 18 feet in some sections. According to VDOT data from 2023, the annual average daily traffic on the 1.8 mile segment of Bull Church Road between Ladysmith Road and Golinsville Road is 410 vehicles per day. The proposed entrance is approximately 1 mile south of the intersection with Ladysmith Road and approximately 0.7 miles north of the intersection with Golinsville Road. The applicant provided a turn lane analysis with the rezoning request that concludes no off-site turn lanes are recommended at the study intersections. Staff notes the turn lane analysis only accounts for the proposed data center use and not any additional industrial uses that would be permitted. The applicant's proffer statement proposes to provide a construction mitigation plan that will address construction traffic control measures, delivery times and routes, and any mitigation measures to be implemented during weekday AM and PM peak travel hours. Staff notes that consideration should be given to mitigating construction traffic against school bus traffic. The project will be served by public water, sewer, and electric utilities as required by the PIRT district regulations. The property is located near existing water and sewer infrastructure, which will require the applicant to bore under Interstate 95 in order to extend these utilities to the site. The applicant has worked with VDOT and received approval to extend the sanitary sewer and the water line under Interstate 95 should the project be approved. According to the applicant, the data center will utilize the closed loop system with minimal evaporation. Rappahannock Electric has provided a letter stating they will provide electrical service to the property. The GDP also depicts a 10-acre substation along the northern property line. Data centers in the M1 zoning must be developed in accordance with the PIRT district regulations, which include standards for setbacks, landscaping, buffer, fencing, and other requirements that assist with mitigating impacts and promoting attractive and environmentally sensitive data center development. The GDP notes a 40-foot transitional buffer containing trees of varying sizes along all property lines where vegetation is not existing. The project also provides a 40-foot street buffer along Bull Church Road. Landscaped areas will also be provided in the interior of the site around buildings and parking areas. The applicant's proffer statement does not limit development of the property to data center uses, but retains a number of by right and special exception uses permitted in the M1 district. By right uses that would be permitted on the property under the proposed M1 zoning include research and development facilities, technology facilities, excluding manufacturing, recycling, or storage of batteries, public utility offices and/or distribution and transmission facilities, public water and sewer facilities, offices, storage, warehouse, and distribution facilities, manufacturing facilities, building material sales and storage yards, and new auto sales and accessory used auto sales. Special exception uses that would be permitted under the M1 zoning include data centers and retail sales associated with manufacturing or offices. Staff notes that should the data center not be developed, some of the proposed by right uses are higher traffic generators than a data center. The 2030 Caroline County Comprehensive Plan designates this area as regional business within the Ladysmith Community Plan. Regional business, as described in the comprehensive plan, would be a district that structures may exceed 100,000 square feet. Regulations should encourage planned commercial centers with carefully organized buildings, service areas, parking areas, and landscaped areas. Such districts are intended for strategic locations in relation to the population centers and transportation networks where adequate public facilities are established. The emerging development pattern of industrial use in this area is anticipated and consistent with prior zoning actions. The adjacent parcel to the north was rezoned for industrial uses in 2021, which enabled the by right development of a data center use. The adjacent parcel to the east across Bull Church Road was partially rezoned for industrial uses in 1976. Comprehensive plan designates this area as appropriate for intense development, although the type of industrial uses has evolved with consumer demands. This type of industrial development is consistent with the goals and land use designations and compatible with the goals of the planned industrial research and technology ordinance. Caroline County Public Schools commented that bus routes do utilize Bull Church Road. There's a concern regarding construction traffic during school pickup and drop-off times in the AM and PM hours. Madison Elementary School is located approximately 1.25 miles from the site, and parents utilize both Ladysmith Road and Bull Church Road for access to Madison Elementary. The Economic Development Office commented that the proffers contain other M1 industrial uses that are higher traffic generators than a data center. Economic Development suggests that the proffers should limit development on the property to only data centers. All other agency comments have been addressed or are items to be addressed at the site plan phase of the project should the rezoning request be approved. For the proffers, proffer 1 proffers conformance with the GDP. Staff is supportive of that proffer as it commits development in accordance with the GDP for the data center use. Proffer 2 limits the uses to the uses shown in the presentation. Staff is not supportive of this proffer as it allows more intense development that would generate significantly more vehicle trips. Old Church Road and Ladysmith Road, east of I-95 and the I-95 interchange are not adequate for significant increases in traffic volumes that may include trucks. Proffer 3 limits additional development to an additional 540,000 square feet of data center use, an additional 34,000 square feet of light industrial use, an additional 160,000 square feet of warehouse distribution use, or any combination of uses such square footage amounts that do not increase the projected 2029 build-out traffic volumes identified in the turn lane warrant analysis. If the property is developed to include any uses other than as shown on the concept plan, a new or revised traffic impact analysis must be provided at the time of site plan submittal. Staff is not supportive of this proffer, and staff would recommend that any other development on the property should conduct a traffic impact analysis and commit to making any improvements identified by the TIA. The transportation proffers do not include any improvements or mitigation of impacts to Bull Church Road or other transportation networks in the vicinity. Proffer 4 proffers the general design standards for the structures regarding building materials, orientation, and screening. Staff is generally supportive of this proffer. However, Proffer 4 signage could be more specific regarding the dimension, height, and number of locations of signage. Proffer 5 designates the parking requirements. Staff notes the proposed requirement for manufacturing or wholesale distribution facility is currently a requirement of the ordinance. Proffer 6 proffers a sound analysis prior to the final site plan approval for each building. Staff is supportive of this proffer, but notes that the proffer could be more specific regarding the methodology to be used for the sound study. Proffer 7 proffers a submission of an emergency action plan. Staff is supportive of that proffer. Proffer 8.1 proffers submission of a construction mitigation plan to address traffic control measures, delivery times and routes, and any mitigation measures during weekday AM and PM peak travel hours. Proffer 8.2 proffers a roadway condition assessment and analysis prior to the first land disturbance permit. Staff is supportive of an RCAA. However, the proffer does not indicate the applicant will make necessary improvements identified in the RCAA. Proffer 8.3 proffers 48 hours notice to the zoning administrator for any large or oversized deliveries to the project. Proffer 8.4 proffers the access point for construction and operational traffic. Proffer 8.5 designates at least one public liaison for the project during construction. Proffer 8.6 proffers participation in a joint construction traffic reaction team, and staff is supportive of proffers 8.3 through 8.6. Proffer 8.7 proffers that any damage to roads attributable to construction must be repaired within 120 days of issuance of the final certificate of occupancy for each building at the applicant's expense, or initiate repairs within 48 hours after receiving notice from the planning department that damage has been made the road unsafe. Staff is supportive of this proffer. However, the language may need to clarify that the 120 days does not refer to the completion of the last building in the project. Proffer 9 proffers the use and Proffer 9 proffers the use and payment of third-party contractors for review and/or inspection should the county request. Staff is supportive of the applicant proffering to assist with third-party contractors. However, staff is not supportive of this proffer as written. Proffer 10 proffers a general development schedule to be submitted to the zoning administrator at least 90 days prior to the commencement of construction, and staff is supportive of that proffer. And that concludes the staff presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Chairman, I have a lot of questions. So this would be my first data center that I've been in front of since I've been on the commission. But so I do have a lot of questions. I don't know if they're going to all apply to Mr. Pennington or the applicant. So I don't know if I should ask him now.
Do you want to do the applicant presentation?
I would suggest we do the applicant presentation, and then we can get everybody going at the same time. And Niels Cosby, nice to see you again.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. It's wonderful to be back in Caroline. So my name is Ann Neal Cosby, and I'm a land use attorney from Green Herlocker. I am here tonight to speak on behalf of the applicant. put my glasses on because that would help. NRD Retail LLC. And with me tonight is Jacob Manovich, who's the president of the company, and also Bruce Reese, who was our engineer with Legacy Engineering, is here as well. So, Mr. Rollins, if you've got a lot of questions, hopefully we can answer every single one of them. So we appreciate staff's presentation and, as always, working with staff on these applications because they are complex. Every one of them is different. I'll go through this and try not to be too repetitive of what Craig has already told you. But this is a visual of the site, and we are requesting the rezoning from RP to M1 with the special exception now that that's a requirement in the M1 district as of December. The total acreage here is a little under 90 acres. It's 87.56 acres. I think it's really important, particularly for the Planning Commission, as it will be for the board, because I know you have a lot of data centers coming at you from sort of different areas of the county. And so, where is it appropriate for a data center to go in Caroline County? What makes sense from the planning, from the planning side of this? And I think in this instance, what you're seeing is this is really exactly, I think, where the county wants data centers under its current comprehensive plans and the way the growth has already been evolving in this area. So these slides show the outline of the Ladysmith growth area plan, the one on the left, and then the site is right there in red. So you can see, and I think Craig actually had a much better slide that I didn't include in here, but our property under that growth area plan is designated as regional business. And so regional business is where commercial centers, that are in sort of a campus environment are designated as being, the identified use there. Also on this isn't shown, but on the eastern side, so the regional business is to the north and to the south of our property, of this property. To the east, the comprehensive plan designates that area as general business. And so sort of the whole area around where this data center is proposed for rezoning is designated in the comp plan as being a regional business hub, surrounded by other types of general business. So, the question as to, okay, is this the area where we want data centers? It's not PERT for sure, right? That's a special designation that is new to the county, and it could, a data center could go in a PERT, but it could also, and it appropriately could go in an M1 district with a special exception permit, so long as the comprehensive plan says, hey, this is a good place for that use. And I would suggest to you, based on everything that the county has in its plan, all the dominoes for this case are lined up just like you would want them. The comprehensive plan identifies the area for this type of use. The growth around it is already industrial. The slide on the right identifies the existing zoning that is in the area. You can see the Virginia Bazaar site to the immediate north that's already industrial, and then the industrial parcels, and the business and commercial across 95. And again, south of our parcel all the way to Golansville, and even south of that is designated for regional business. So even though right now it might be RP, the county's plan does not anticipate it should stay that way. It should be regional business. So don't let it, the green fool you. The county's plan would call for that swath on both sides of 95 to be business, commercial. I would suggest high revenue generating, types of business, low traffic, high revenue generating. And so, of course, that, is what you get with a data center. And so I think, here's another version of this slide that Craig showed, in this area, because of the way the area has already developed, with the M1, there are already data centers that will be, constructed in this area. So, not the whole area, but again, within this area that's been designated for these uses, you're seeing, that's what the county is getting, and that makes sense because that's what you want. And so ours would be another extension of, this sort of node. I think the staff had that in their staff report. This is another, technology data center node that is along this interchange. So, so the Bull Church Road data center, our data center would be, an appropriate extension of what is already in that area. It's a smaller, I think, site as well. So it doesn't, generate quite the impacts. And so again, quite appropriate for the area. This is the same GDP that Craig showed you. I won't go through the specifics of the plan. What's proposed right now are the 3 data centers that would have roughly 792,000 square feet. The 10-acre substation, there's only a little bit of frontage on Bull Church Road, so you're not going to see this data center, from the road. It's going to be hidden back within the parcel, again, 95 to the west. I will speak to the future development areas, and you can see there's a lot of wetlands on this property, so whether or not those areas would develop at all is questionable. But we did want to maintain that as an opportunity, because again, this is the primary regional business area of the county, so you want it to be developed for very lucrative development. Now, whether that's data center or something else, if a technology or a research park came with high-paying jobs, I think the county would want that. So we've limited the uses that could come. We've proffered those out. Those uses are mostly those same kind of innovation, technology, resource, research uses as are in the PERT. So, we've struck out all of the more generic M1 uses. And so it's really the high paying, quality uses that would be allowed. I understand 100% staff's concern about the traffic. Well, if we approve this, what happens to traffic? And that's why the proffer on transportation is written in such a way that whatever use might come in, it can't be any larger. The square footage there limits it. And there's a catch-all in there that says whatever combination of uses, however, whatever goes in there, it can't be more trips per day than would require any new improvements or traffic turn lanes than are currently required. In other words, right now, there is, some wiggle room before you would need new traffic improvements. We can only get, whether it's data center or anything else, you're limited. So if it is any more than what would already be required right now, we would have to do another traffic impact analysis, and we would have to go and build those improvements. So we tried to provide flexibility so that if somebody came in and said, hey, we want to do something that's really creative on this site, we would say, okay, well, you can only do it at this level, because if it has any more trucks or cars or vehicle trips, once it triggers more than what would already be allowed and you would need any more turn lanes or anything else, then that's where the protection kicks in. So we thought it was a creative way. It's different. I will tell you, I've never written a proffer like that. So, but that's the way you could get the use and also be completely protected, that it wouldn't have any more. So if we said it's only data center, the way the proffer is written, it would be data center, but you'd still need a new TIA. So I'm happy to let Bruce talk about that. But I wanted you to know we thought long and hard about how to allow uses and not cause any more impact to any of the road systems in the area. The fiscal analysis, I think, this commission is very aware, of the revenue generation opportunities for data centers. Our project would be anticipated to have roughly 87 new jobs at full build out. And then we included financial information about revenues, roughly 5.4 million during the first year of operation. It bumps up to 16.1 in 2 years, but then it sort of levels out. So, and again, that analysis is in your packet, and we're speaking planning, so I'm not going to get too much into the fiscals. But Craig's already talked about, we are required to comply with the PERT standards, and we do. So we've got the 100-foot setbacks from property lines, transitional buffers, 20% open space, building height limited to 95 feet, sound level requirements, equipment screening, building materials and standards, and the protections that I think that this commission, perhaps maybe not Mr. Rollins, because this is his first time around, but the rest of you I know have seen, these regulations over and over and over. So I'm not going to get too deep in the PERT regulations. We do have our additional proffers. Again, we would conform with that GDP. So if in those future development areas, something else was going to come in, again, that transportation proffer kicks in. And I've discussed that. And so there's the proffer that that speaks to that. Additional uses can't exceed square footage amounts that would increase traffic volumes, or you would need a new TIA. We would undertake a sound analysis, if that's something that staff, wants more information on, we can certainly take a look at, providing whatever information is, would be appropriate there. Our construction mitigation plan, it does actually include as one of the criteria that in that construction mitigation plan, we have to address measures to avoid school bus travel times. So it's school buses and peak travel hours. So before we can do anything, as far as to get site plan approval, we have to have an approved construction mitigation plan that addresses traffic, because we understand that 100%. We will be doing a pre-construction roadway condition assessment. And then, we'll look at what the road is. And then if we've done any damage, then, we will correct that, as listed in the proffer. We've got an emergency action plan that's in there, the public liaison, reimbursement to the county, the criteria that Craig mentioned. And so I'm not going to repeat those, but just point out, we have addressed school bus travel times and the roadways, and how, we will be responsible for any damage that we cause to those roadways. Building designs, these are, again, PERT standards to make sure that, you're not going to see them, but if you go back in there and, they'll be secure, but, these are going to be nice buildings. Here are some sample front elevations. So again, it will depend on the ultimate user, but I think you're generally familiar again with what these look like. They have to be, of different materials, and you have to have an accent color. So, I think, I think they're good looking buildings. I think it's kind of a shame that you're not going to see them, but that's just me. Here's another sample elevation, but under the PERT standards, we would have to build, buildings that look something like this. Water usage, I know, is huge. I know Dr. Horton is always concerned about water usage, as you all are, and these are closed loop systems, no evaporative cooling. What does that mean? Each building is anticipated to use about 500,000 gallons of water a year, which is really equivalent to 5 houses. So the water usage here, is not going to be, something that is overly impactful to the county. I know another issue that comes up as much as water usage now are transmission lines. And I think we've talked about, repeatedly that, where the transmission lines to serve any particular data center will be located is within the purview of the State Corporation Commission. And so You know, if there's a need, the Dominion and the State Corporation Commission figure out, you know, okay, what's the best way for all of us, including, the locality, the ratepayers, et cetera. And so so I can't tell you exactly, you know, where power will, will come from, except that I have provided is because those other data centers are farther along in the process, the State Corporation Commission, and I'm sure you all know this, has been looking at routing for this area in particular. So as of September 17th, you can see that there were, already routes coming in from the east. And so our site technically isn't on this map. You know, you can see the sites that are already permitted. We're, of course, south of that, central star. But you can see, the routing is already underway. That September and then November, they took some of the routes off the table. So as far as I'm aware, because again, it's a state process and not a local process, but I wanted to share with you, the transmission system, is being routed as we speak to make sure it can serve, the data centers that are allowed by right. Again, I can't speak to exactly what will happen, but our data center is directly south of the Virginia Bazaar. So I would submit to you that there's going to be power going to the Virginia Bazaar and all those other uses. So, it will be, I suspect, not overly impactful for a transmission extension to our property. I know I've exceeded. Which I did for 2 cases, I will say. So that's 5 minutes a case, but I am done with my presentation. So we are here to answer questions, Mr. Rollins' questions, everybody's questions, and we appreciate, again, staff. We've had good meetings with the community. We've had good conversations with the neighbors. And so we are hopeful that, you will see that this data center, again, is one that makes an awful lot of sense in this area and is one where it aligns with what the county wants as far as data centers. So thank you. And I'll sit down and let Mr. Rollins and everybody ask questions, but thank you.
Okay, I guess my first question is, were there any meetings held with the public as far as the people that's going to neighboring the campus?
Yes, we did have our community meeting, and there are some, I think, residents here tonight for the public hearing. I think the closest neighbor is sitting right behind me, and I'll let him address the planning commission.
And
but yes, sir.
I think I was at another meeting a few weeks ago. So that was, in that presentation, that was a cap on reimbursements to the county for hiring
Yes.
for inspectors. So is there a cap with this plan? Or not?
Yes. So the cap would be $100,000. And I will tell you that is, I think you all are from the Avio site, that the data center was approved there. So that's consistent with what Avio did. So that's where we got that number. We were like, we're willing to do whatever anybody else is doing. That's where, that number came from.
So can we put the picture of the campus back up? I want to show where the substation is at on the screen.
I guess that's me, isn't it? Sorry, Craig. No.
Okay, so
that's 10 acres.
So the substation is closer to Bull Church Road. So the acreage that you have closer to 95, that would accommodate. What was the logic behind putting it closer to the residents? Because there are some people who live on the other side of Bull Church Road. So was there a logic behind? Was there not enough acreage on the backside to put it closer to 95 versus to Bull Church?
Jacob Manovich, owner of the property and applicant here. Yes, the answer is that Rappahannock Electric Co-op, which is the utility provider here, needs 10 acres and they have to be contiguous. And so the topography, the wetlands didn't really work on the 95 side. But what we did do is we placed it up against the data center project that's in for site plan approval. So
I guess one of my questions, and like I was saying, this would be my first one. Do we have anybody here from Rappahannock Electric? No. So I spoke to a gentleman in reference to another data center campus, and I think he told me he represented REC. Now, he said that REC doesn't pass down any charges to their customer.
that's correct. It's a co-op.
But Dominion does. So the people who are on Rappahannock in this area wouldn't see an increase in their electric.
That's correct. It's Rappahannock Electric. It's a co-op. It's a non-for-profit co-op, and so they make developers pay for their own all fees, all transmission fees. They make you pay for the substation. They don't pass on any costs.
So I have a couple concerns. So with this data center campus and the other two that are going to be there pretty much, and I don't know if all of them are going to kick off at the same time. My concern would be if all of them are in the process of building at the same time, the traffic, and I know we talk about Bull Church Road, but we also need to look at the impact on 639. So if we have traffic working on the data center, here, your data center, and the one at the bazaar, my concern would be if all of those are going on at the same time. So who requests the traffic analysis? Does the applicants or does the county, as far as the impact of traffic, if all three data centers are, what kind of impact that would have on traffic on Ladysmith Road while those three campuses are in construction?
The traffic impact analysis addresses the build out of the uses, and it doesn't address the construction traffic.
I have a question.
I was just going to say, we had talked to staff because staff raised that issue as well. You know, that how can you coordinate traffic impacts? And so as part of that construction mitigation plan, you know, in the proffer, the language is the construction mitigation plan will include, you know, the things including what I've told you, bus and peak traffic, but certainly, you know, coordination with other projects, you know, I think would be appropriate to include in that construction plan. And again, the construction plan has to be approved before site plan. So we don't know right now when any of these projects will be built, but there's the mechanism in those proffers, that construction mitigation plan, that if, you know, we needed to add some language that we would coordinate with, you know, other data center or other uses under construction at the same time, you know, I think we could certainly look into language that makes you and staff more comfortable.
Okay. My next question is the noise, the fumes from the generators and the noise from Interstate 95, with those three data center campuses being in close proximity, is there any impact on the noise with them three being in close proximity, or does it not affect the noise level being that three are close together?
So just by background for a second, we've done the first project in Stafford County, and we've done a noise study for Stafford County. Our site, which sat about half a mile from 95 when we did that noise study, what happened was the noise from 95 actually is louder than any noise that came from our project. And that was half a mile in to the west of 95. So most likely the noise from 95 is going to overshadow, but the generators don't usually turn on unless there's an emergency. And Also, my background, I used to run the Amazon, the AWS data center acquisition team on the East Coast, and I can't recall an incident where we had those generators turned on for emergency use. They do test them once a quarter, but besides that, those tests are, I forget the timing, maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes, but that's the only time those generators get turned on. And the one thing that staff was good at here was they had flipped the building. The buildings absorb the noise, and they've had those. If you look at the generator yards, two of them, the buildings face each other, so they take care of those, and the other one, the generators are turned into face the building and away from the residents. And just to make one point in your packet, but the two closest residents, one is about 900 feet, so about 9 football fields away from the property line, and the other one is about 1,000 linear feet from the property line. But as part of your PERT standards, we can't go above a certain decimal. I think it's 60 decimals during the day and 55 or 50 at night. And so those stop at a property line. Those we can't have noise over that amount of the property line. But the good news is there's a lot of linear feet between our site and the closest residents.
Okay, batteries. So are those batteries I see you have battery charging stations. So are they inside the data center themselves, or are they housed separately, or how big are they, or is that something?
It's new technology, and so I've seen it in both ways. There hasn't been yet a standard that's been applied to them.
And I had a question about, I read something about wildlife paths. So what does that, could somebody explain that to me as far as taking care of, as far as wildlife? I think it was, I forgot what the terminology that was used.
I'm not aware of so around these buildings in the campus is a fence, a security fence. It's treated like a government facility, and so there's a guard shack when you enter, but around the entire campus is a fence, and I don't, depending on the wildlife, I don't see any large wildlife crossing into the property.
And Mr. Pennington, this one might be for you. Would the power lines and stuff have any impact on future development on the other side of Bull Church Road? Whether, because at this point, I don't know if anybody knows how the lines are going to be crisscrossing across the area. Is that going to have any impact on future development on the other side of Bull Church Road or Goldensville Road?
At this time, the SCC hasn't determined which route the power lines are going to take. And so I can't answer that question if it's going to have any detrimental effects on other parcels.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
If I can give you just one response to that, again, just because we're further ahead in Stafford, where they are doing a transmission extension. Dominion, and I can't speak for them, but in practice, they choose the shortest lines and the least impactful towards residents. So at least in our specific case, one of the reasons that I chose this site was because it was low impact, and low impact meaning that the transmission lines exist and the improvements are being made for the Bazaar data center project, whether this happens or doesn't. But this is an easy piggyback onto existing infrastructure improvement that's already happening that doesn't add on to any other.
So that's contingent on the Bazaar. You don't have power there now to be able to supply your campus, right?
So the way it works is that each application or each site submitted an application to Rappahannock. They do a transmission study and they come back with a serve letter. And so a property like the Bazaar, which is by right, they do have to serve it. Just a question of when. So they will be improving it. With our property, the transmission study hasn't come back yet. It's been about a year. It takes about a year and a half for them to come back with the transmission study. The high likelihood is they will serve it as well, but that depends on if it gets zoned properly.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna take a break. somebody else can ask a question if they like. Good, I think. Great.
So I'll go ahead, since you were talking about the electric lines. Where are the lines coming in right now?
They come in just off the screen to the north into the Virginia Bazaar.
Coming up from Carmel Church?
They come from east to west across. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, because that is a concern of mine. I mean, because these have got to be high-powered lines, and is there going to be some right-of-way taken from people's property?
So if that happens, so just to be clear, there's existing lines that run today, and they run from east to west to the bazaar. Whatever Rappahannock is doing, or Dominion is doing for the bazaar, that's in the process, and I believe there's been community meetings about it, and they're improving that line to have the appropriate size for the bazaar project. If we were included, ours would be a very small extension somewhere between the bazaar and our property. It wouldn't, and I can't, actually, I shouldn't say that because I can't make that comment, but logically, that's where it would happen.
I think Mr. Pennington wanted to maybe add to that.
I just wanted to let you know a map of the existing transmission lines has been pulled up on your screens.
Okay, so are these pathways wide enough for the high-powered lines? Do you know, Mr. Pennington or Mr. Hughes?
So what you have on the screen right now are existing lines. The Dominion project that would serve the by right properties will come from the east, and there will be some additional lines right away acquired for those lines. Theoretically, because of proximity of this site to the other sites, you would think that it would be a short extension from the Ladysmith or the Bazaar site to this site. That's theoretically. Like you said, at this point, we don't know because they're in the feasibility phase of the power study. It's possible that for whatever reason, if there wasn't sufficient power to come from the east to come off of those Ladysmith or Bazaar sites, that the power might have to come from the west. And you can see there is an existing corridor. The blue line there is coming from the west. It's possible that the lines could come from that direction. But at this point, we don't know. I mean, we just don't know where they would come from. But those lines right now that you see on the map exist today. Dominion does try to use existing corridors and to prevent from having to expand right of ways. If they have to add additional infrastructure, they typically are going up, adding onto existing power lines. That's what's happening right now over on the 500 kV line that runs kind of in the western part of the county. So there is no expansion of corridor there. They are adding on to the top and adding additional capacity on those lines. But like I said, at this point, for this particular site, we don't know. I don't think Dominion knows because they've not gotten to that point. They asked for a feasibility study. The next step is an engineering study, which is the more detailed study to determine exactly where the power lines that would serve this particular site. That's already been done for the Clean Arc sites, those 2 by right sites.
So you're saying on the western side, the red lines are expanding right now?
Mm-hmm.
So are they widening that path or taking any additional property?
No, they are doing that infrastructure improvement within the existing right-of-way that they have right now. They're adding new infrastructure on the existing poles to add 230 lines on those in that corridor.
Okay. Yeah, because that would be one of my concerns. I would hate to see people lose, residential property, especially if it's something's been in the family. We have a lot of that in Caroline. So while you're up here, Mr. Hughes, this is going to fall under the PERT. We're going to require the PERT for this?
They would require M1 data centers that are in the M1 district are required to follow the PERT standards. Yes, ma'am.
And so this is the Virginia Bazaar property is by rights, but this is just to the south of it, and this is not by rights.
That is
So this is a new application.
That is correct.
It looked like I saw some floodplains in this area. A lot of swampy waterways.
There are significant wetlands on the property.
Okay, are we taking precautions?
Oh, yes, ma'am, you have to. I mean, they can.
I mean, I know we do, so we're supposed to, but sometimes we run into things we didn't realize were there.
That happens when they get out in the field and they start doing some work, but hopefully their wetlands folks that they paid to do the delineation did a good job and they've designed the site accordingly.
Is this like 100-year floodplain area, or?
I don't know if it's a floodplain, but it is certainly a wetlands area. So it's a, determined waters of the U.S. or a wetlands feature.
Is any wetlands being taken?
This is not, there's no floodplains on the property.
Okay.
And we have a wetlands delineation that has been approved by the Corps of Engineers. Our buildings and development that you see is not in the wetlands.
Okay.
And just to piggyback off of Mr. Rollins, that's why, again, the substation's not closer to 95 because that is where the wetlands are.
Yeah, I did notice that on one of the maps. So 3 more questions. So it's an air-cooled station, correct?
Yes, closed loop, yes.
And so how often do you have to change the water of everything?
It's an average once a year. It depends if impurities somehow get into the closed loop.
Okay.
But what's happened is, and I know there's been a lot of concern about this, I've done in the last couple of years deals in Phoenix and Salt Lake City where it's really parched climate, and the industry has innovated and the technology has changed drastically. So it's out of all uses on the industrial side, it's now usually the least impactful for water.
So how many gallons?
It's approximately 500,000 gallons per building.
And 3 buildings.
Correct, 1.5 million.
And
that's equivalent of 15
so
houses.
you have, for your system, you have to have some kind of treatment in the water,
Correct.
boron or whatever. And so changing out the water, that would be something we have to watch for. The staff has to watch for, as these, depending on how many data centers we have in this county, how much can our ground hold when the water is, because it is going to be chemically treated water. I guess you can neutralize some of that.
Correct.
And let's see, and what was the tax revenue per year estimate
It was about 13 million when it stabilizes, and that's, I believe, 20% of the school
to the
budget.
county?
Yes.
All right, I think that's all I have for now.
While I've got you.
Yes.
I believe on a previous slide, when we were talking about the water, is that there would be minimal evaporation into the atmosphere. So there will be some evaporation.
It happens naturally, but it's a closed pipeline.
Right.
It just happens from the heat, that it goes to cool down, and sometimes it does
Right.
evaporate. Yes.
For fun and giggles, what would be the evaporation rate, and how often would you have to replenish it?
It's now beyond what I could. I'm happy to come back to you with an answer. I don't know that.
Okay. All right. You also mentioned battery storage.
Yes.
I'm-
Just for the data centers, not as a battery storage is a larger term, and there's some developments out there that try and do battery storage for utilities or for other means.
Correct.
This is just for the operation of those data center buildings.
And maybe planning or can tell us, is that allowable? Just a shake of the head or one way or the other?
Use it less than 10%, right?
So the battery storage is allowed only for backup power internally in the system, according to the PERT. So when you think of battery storage, if you think of a large battery storage facility outside, that is not permissible. Only battery storage that is used as backup power in the facility is allowed.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. And I assume that's exactly what we're dealing with here.
Yes.
Okay. Let me go down my list a little bit. Let's see.
While he's looking, so that backup battery would kick in prior to generator?
It's there's all data centers are designed to be repetitive. The whole point is they shouldn't shut down, and so they create systems that, okay, well, if for some reason the power goes out, then the generators kick in. If for some reason the generators go out, then the batteries kick in. They're all backup systems. I don't think it's been firmed, just because again it's new technology, what comes before what. But that is the thought.
Next. Turn the mic on.
My biggest concern is the impact of the traffic on that road. And I heard Ms. Cosby say that you all are going to try to coordinate with potentially the other data centers that are in use. But having had 4 kids go to county school and my kids all use Bull Church Road, that's about a 4.5 hour time frame of the day. I mean, how are they going to get any work done in a 5 hour work day?
Are we talking about construction or are we talking about operations?
Construction, because I mean, most of the time, most of the kids are leaving around 6:30 in the morning to go to the high school, and the Madison Elementary probably at the latest around 9, and then back out probably. And I don't remember specifically, but I'm going to say around 2 o'clock till probably 4 o'clock.
Sure.
So that only leaves like 4.5 hour work day.
What I've seen construction sites do is start earlier than 6:30, but I'm sorry. But again, we're open to working, on a plan that makes sense for everybody.
And that road it's not a very good road. I mean, I have my son was in an accident on that road because of hunters and dogs and animals running out. I'm just really concerned about the traffic impact. That's just a big traffic impact.
When it's stabilized after the construction, our peak morning hour cars are about 40 cars in the morning. That's that peak hour. I can't think of another use that is so minimal on that road that you could do for that kind of development. We are also offering, our frontage where we own the property. We're offering it to the county as a future expansion of that road.
Okay.
Just to piggyback on that for a minute, Bull Church Road is an unlaned road. And I too have concerns about the traffic. I can tell you the school bus goes past my house at 6:30 every morning. It's 3:30 in the evening when it comes back by again. So construction people generally like to start right at the crack of dawn if they can, and that's going to put them right in the time frame. But that's something you're going to have to work out. It's probably going to be 2029, 2030 before you hit build out. Is that your projected time frame?
That's approximately right. Yeah.
So I don't know how quickly you are going to be able to get all of your permits and everything and break ground and start construction. But you're probably looking at what, 4-year construction time?
It takes between 8 and 12 months per building. And they do one at a time.
Right.
So yeah, it's about 3 years once we get started.
So you're looking at 3 to 4 year stretch of time. The traffic is going to be on that roadway, and it's going to have an impact on the neighborhood and upon the commerce that's in the area. So this is not going to be a 6-month build out. This is going to be years in the making. Don't get me wrong. I am not against data centers. No stretch. But we need to minimize the impact, the negative impact that it can have. And
So one thing, if I could suggest, that Loudoun County has done on a number of sites that I was involved in, is we would have an off-site, they would have an off-site parking spot for the construction workers and put them on school buses or other type of buses.
And that's fine for workers, sir, and I'm not trying to cut you off, but I'm speaking of the vehicles coming in and out, your suppliers, your concrete people, everyone that's going to be delivering your materials. The actual labor force is not that big of a concern, in my opinion, even though it's going to take a lot of people, because once they're in for the day, whereas your trucks are going to be coming and going daily. That is my biggest concern as far as the impact on the neighborhood. Now, I don't want to cut Mr. Young off. So it's your turn, sir.
Okay. The way I see some of these things, well, one, to go back on the water, I spoke out earlier about the evaporation process. I think that's usually around about 10%, correct? Or less.
The answer is I don't know.
I've built several data centers, so I'm somewhat familiar with them. Speaking of the road conditions, the traffic impact, you know, unfortunately, that's the cost of doing business if you're in growth in the county. I do understand that. VDOT owns the roads. We don't control the roads. And the uniformity of the road. So, you know, one of the things I see here in the proffers, we were talking about maybe 120 days for repair. That I have a won't say a concern. Well, it is a concern, but a minor, what's considered minor damage and major damage. Major damage should be mitigated immediately or taken care of immediately. Minor damages probably should be less than 90 days. You know,
I think that's very right.
120 days, I think, is just a little too long. But outside of that, this area, I mean, we do have the wetlands, of course. You know, we have the responsible authorities and agencies that will work with you on that. You're not going to get a CO if you don't comply with what's going to happen there. If you know, you can't compromise those wetlands. I think it's a well laid out presentation as well as site plan. Where else in the county would we put data centers? I mean, anywhere we go, we're gonna run into a problem with traffic, construction, anything else that we may have that goes along with that, with the building of it. I haven't heard anything about the benefits for the community as well as the county. Those are some of the things that I think would be extremely helpful. And not just a monetary benefit to the county, but what are the impacts, positive and negative? Those things need to be addressed and put out front. Again, I think it's a great opportunity, and I think that's it for my comments.
Let me suggest that we take a 10-minute recess before we open the public hearing. So we will be in recess for 10 minutes. Sure.
Can I have one quick question though before? How many acres of trees do you plan to cut down, and what time of year do you plan to cut them down?
Out of 75% open space. And I know we have a restriction that the Corps provides with that, the tricolor bat. The Corps, Army Corps of Engineers restricts cutting those trees during a certain season. I forget, it's like maybe December through March. So it doesn't
Okay.
disturb the tricolored bat.
Okay,
So it can't happen during that.
all right. All right, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be in recess for 10 minutes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the meeting will be back in session. Right now, we're going to conduct the public hearing regarding this rezoning request. So the public hearing is open. If there's anyone wishing to speak, please come forward, state your name, your voting district, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Willis Robertson. I live at 18491 Bull Church Road.
Just your voting district will be quite sufficient. Thank you.
Well, it's kind of important where I live because I'm the closest person to this data center, and my house is across from where the entrance is going to be. So I think it's important as to where I do live,
All right,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman. Some of you know me as Sergeant Robertson with the Sheriff's Office. I am not here to give the view of the Sheriff's Office or tell you what their position are. This is I'm strictly here as a citizen and not an official word for the Sheriff's Office. I want everybody to understand that. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 22 years, and most people know that's my connection. And
Thank you for your service.
I don't want that to interfere. There's been a lot of talk about noise. Well, most of you know the wind comes out of the west. And some days I think the tractor trailers are coming down my driveway and going around behind my house and then running over my little dog or something back in the back with all the noise of the rumble strips. I went proactive and I changed my windows and my doors, and so I live with the noise from 95. I can't believe that the data center is going to weed out that noise. If you want to hear noise, go up to Lady Smith and sit in front of the food line and listen to the Hondas and the little Nissans with the new exhaust systems go by, or try to get your prescription at the CVS window with one of those cars going by. That's noise. And it's not exceeding the decibel sound limit, and the guys at the Sheriff's Office and the state police are having a real trouble of curtailing that noise. That noise going by my house is really what we call noise. So I believe what Mrs. Cosby, she's a friend of mine, yes, and I believe her when she tells me how data centers are going to work. I don't know about data centers, but she tells me that they're going to have vegetation so you can't see them, which I don't really give a damn about that. But she tells me that noise factor is going to be level, that there's going to be no pollution coming from them. I believe all that because I trust her. I think that I'd much rather see that from what she's telling me than I would a bunch of apartments in front of my house and all the stuff that goes along with that, or a strip mall. I'm in, like I say, in law enforcement, so I know all the problems that happen in these apartment complexes and these housing areas. I know about the theft from the cars. I know about the calls that we get from neighbors that can't get along with their neighbors. So if the impact is going to be against our services, against first responders, are going to be greater if we have strip malls and housing apartments and that stuff than it is from what I understand from this data center. So anyway, back to the noise. You've got to be proactive. If you think the noise is going to bother you, put up whatever you need to. Plant some trees in front of your house or whatever. You got a lot of time to do it. I don't have that much time because I'm old. I probably don't even live long enough to see these things built. But I do have a child and I have relatives. Most of the people who live on Bull Church Road are family. My wife's family on my wife's side. She grew up at the Charity Hills Farms, which is right at the end of Bull Church Road, and Goldsville Road. So just about everybody that lives on that road is our relatives. And the ones that I've talked to are not anti-data center. As a matter of fact, like me, they'd much rather see the green pine trees, but if you gotta have a choice between strip malls and apartments and houses, we'll take the data center. So that's where we stand. The other item I keep hearing about, of course, is the traffic. Well, don't blame the data centers. That road is a disaster. It has been a disaster. There have been complaints made by the authorities, by citizens, and so forth. That road has not been serviced or put any kind of treatment on for at least probably 30 years. I've been living there 50 years, so I think it's been at least 30 years since the highway department did anything. You blame the highway department because the shoulders, if you drop off the shoulder, you're either going to crash or you're going to break an axle. Why there is not more accidents on that road is beyond me. Now, traffic, yeah, man, in the mornings from 6:30 to 7, don't try to go to your mailbox because you'll get your butt smashed out there because those kids are coming through there. We work radar. Sheriff's office works radar all the time on Goldsville Road. It's not much of a place you can work on. Bull Church Road, it's a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. 55 miles an hour is about 20 and 30 miles faster than you should be driving on Bull Church Road. The shoulders are a disaster. The vegetation is overgrown. There's been complaints made. Complaints made about the potholes. They come and throw a little bit of asphalt down and makes it rougher than it is. We'll keep complaining and we'll keep trying to get that road fixed. But don't blame the data centers. The road is a disaster to start with. It's got to be fixed before any construction vehicles hit that road. Don't worry about the data centers after they get started because shift changes, I don't think are, from what Ms. Cosby tells me, that I don't think it's going to be that big of an impact. In the mornings, school, okay, I'm going to close it down real quick. School buses, 4 in the mornings, 4 in the evenings. This morning, like every morning, I take my daughter to Rice Chapel where she works, and there are 4 buses come through. All of them just about are empty. The one that's totally empty stops down before you get to Pabby's house, picks up one child, sometimes picks up another child in the house on the other side of Pabby, and they go to Madison School. Sometimes that bus goes to Madison School totally empty, but sometimes it picks up a kid. 4 buses. In the afternoons, the kids are coming home from school. Oh, hell yeah, they're flying. They're coming on down the road. But the traffic is out there. It's a lot of traffic. The road is not ready for construction.
Okay.
That's my feeling. Thank you.
Sergeant Robinson, I think I can assume that you are in favor of the data center.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, Kevin Collins, Reedy Church District. The Ladysmith Comprehensive Plan is a 31-page section of the overall comprehensive plan. I understand that it was created in 2010, long before data centers were a thought, but data centers were never a thought and never thought to be included in Ladysmith. Ladysmith is the furthest you can get away from the PIRT zones that were created by this planning commission and our board of supervisors. Those areas, if we have forgotten, were created because Caroline County wanted to keep data center growth in 2 main areas, north of Ladysmith and Thornburg and south of Ladysmith and Carmel Church. One being an area already with industrial uses, truck stops and the like. Thornburg was used because we had a very lucrative deal with another county to supply infrastructure that our county does not have. But there was an oversight, whether on purpose by design or by oversight by the board. M1 was allowed to have data centers as a by right use. Some folks came in and rezoned in 2021 a 400-acre piece off of Ladysmith Road, knowing this. And they got in under the radar. Another property, Clean Arc, also got in under the radar. They were smart enough, their legal team was wise to get in before it became a special exception use in the M1. This is a residential preservation zone piece of property with significant wetland. The maximum per county ordinance is 1 home per 10 acres. That would mean a maximum of 8.7 homes on this piece of property. Given its location next to the interstate, and given its location with the wetlands, you could probably get maybe 6 homes. So talks of apartment complexes and neighborhoods and subdivisions are not where this is. This area of Ladysmith was meant to be for schools, for neighborhoods, for residents to enjoy, to have public facilities, fire, EMS, all the things that a village has where people don't have to go outside of the county. We're in the process of bringing in retail business for this area. We currently, if nothing is done and Caroline continues its path, we will have 34 data center buildings spread across possibly 7 to 10 campuses, totaling 10 to 11 million square feet of data center use. If you compare that to Loudoun County, which is the data center capital of the state and the world, they have roughly 40 million with about another 5 under construction or going to be built in the future. Is this what we want for Caroline? When is enough? 11 million square feet of data center based on a low estimate of $12,000 per square foot in revenue to a height of $20,000 a square foot in revenue would generate close to 360 million, maybe close to $1 billion in revenue if all that comes to fruition. It's a pipe dream. Go to Loudoun County. Look at the people that are moving out and selling their land because they don't want to be near these industrial giants. Ladysmith was not meant for this. Poor planning, and I'd like to think it was an oversight, caused data centers to come to Ladysmith. It was never meant for this. It was never in the county's design. Yes, it's an interchange off of 95. I don't expect it to stay a small rural town center. I expect it to grow, and I want it to grow. And that was part of the reason why I moved out of that area, because I wanted to be in the rural character of this county. But what happens when we say approve this and we rezone this rural preservation? Just like the applicant said, with all of the dominoes in a line, yes, their dominoes are in a line, because once this domino falls, the rest will follow. And every person that has 60, 70, 80 acre piece of RP located along Route 1 is going to want their piece of the pie as well. We can't keep doing this. When is Caroline County going to draw a line in the sand? This commission right in front of me has listened to the citizens of Caroline County more than anyone has in this county. I respect the Board of Supervisors, but you guys actually ask questions that have meaning and thought behind them. You want the best for the citizens of the county. I look and sometimes think that it gets lost once it leaves this room and heads to the board. We have to make a stance for our families, for our children. Data centers aren't bad. We have 11 buildings, millions of square feet coming at Mattamead. Aveo is coming in Carmel Church. There's another one that's going to be in front of you guys shortly that wants 13 buildings in Ruther Glen in the new PERT area where we designated this growth to be. We have to draw that sand in the line, that line in the sand. It has to be done, and it starts with the Planning Commission. We have to stand firm and say no to projects like this. They all sound great until you have 34 of them and there's no Ladysmith left. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins.
Good evening, Chairman Schwartz, members of the Planning Commission. Mr. Collins' testimony is a hard act to follow. I urge you to deny my name is Mary Hodge, Bowling Green District. I urge you to deny the rezoning application and special exemption permit for the Broad Church Data Center. Every day in the local paper, there's an article about Spotsylvania, Stafford, Orange, Fredericksburg, each greenlighting 25 million square feet of data centers in all these localities. The elephant in the room is no one is saying who will be the tenants these investors are speculating on. Is it AI, cryptocurrency, which are both highly energy and water consuming? Will it be for warfare or defense? just remember, there's no tax levied for a government tenant. Are you putting we residents at risk for being a potential target in future warfare? The county won't have any say on who the tenants are. Could there be Chinese spyware housed in these components? And another elephant in the room is, what about the massive electronic waste in these multi-million square foot buildings? Where does that go? What is the risk to the community? Should a fire break out and toxic fumes are released between the electronic components and the batteries? What are the pollutants that will be discharged, such as forever chemicals, such as PFAS in our water supply? Mrs. Horton brought that up because even with a closed loop system, it needs to be flushed, as they said, at least yearly, because there's a lot of scale built up. And those refrigerants do contain those forever chemicals. They'll be discharged into our sewer system. We already have a higher increase in those chemicals in that system than anywhere else. Noise, there's a school, a mile and a quarter away. That noise is incessant. It's a low hum all the time. Do you know how that's going to affect the concentration of those students? There's a church nearby also. How will that affect people praying? The Amazon Center that you guys approved is 4.5 miles as the crow flies from my house. That racetrack is there. And when Mrs. Long was my supervisor, I called her out she came out to my house because I could hear the noise of that racetrack on Saturdays. It's quiet where I live, so I'm just waiting for Amazon to come up between that and Kalahari, because my normal, peaceful, quiet home is going to hear that noise incessantly. And also, I saw some discrepancies on the statistics here. They said they were going to build 792,000 square feet in 3 buildings, but that only comes up to 696,000 square feet. So it sounds like they're going to be building 4 buildings by that number. And I know they're giving proffers because they're going to be tearing up the roads. You know that. A lot of people here and in Mr. Rollins' district will be losing their properties for the transmission line to be run. That's already been being discussed. And for the special exemption permit, the use will adversely affect the use of neighboring properties. The use will adversely affect the health and safety of people residing or working in the neighborhood. And it will, can you prove to me that it will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare, or injurious to property improvements in the neighborhood? Or will the use be such that the air quality, surface and groundwater quality will not be degraded? Thank you for asking such wonderful questions tonight, and for all the work that you do. I appreciate it. And for listening to we citizens.
Thank you, Mrs. Hodge. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hi, I'm Linda DeBella. I'm from Mattapona District as well.
What was your last name, ma'am?
DeBella.
Okay, thank you.
I'm also Sergeant's neighbor. I'm right up the street from him. I also didn't want data centers, but after watching what's happening on the opposite side of 95, the armed robberies and everything that's come with Sheetz and Wawas, I say let the data center come. Yes, we have things we need to address. We need to address the road. It is dangerous. I also, like the sergeant, agree. It's a terrible road. We have accidents all the time. If one of those students hit a dump truck, they're going to be dead. They hit our mailbox already. We've had them in the ditch several times. We've had them in the trees. So I, for one, say let him come. You let Lady Smith come. You let the one at the bazaar come. Let them come. You already surrounded us. You didn't care about us when you thought bringing the first ones in. So why care now? The main thing that we can care about now is care about our road. Our road is so dangerous. Somebody's going to die. and it will be on everybody, not just you. It'll be on us as well when it's one of our children. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing no one coming forward, the public hearing is closed. Ms. Niels Cosby, is there any rebuttal that you would like to make? You are the applicant?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, we did not get into the special exception. And I did that for a reason. Today I was going over the proffers, and I see so many of the proffers that staff does not support or needs further definition on. There's no point in going on to the special exception if we do not pass the rezoning first. With that being said, I would like to give the applicant and their attorney an opportunity to continue to work with staff, because if staff is not happy, this commissioner is not happy.
Mr. Chairman, I completely understand that there's still work to be done, and we are, happy to engage on the issues that we've heard. I would ask, because there are companion cases, I would respectfully request that the public hearing, at least be opened and closed for the special exception so they can go forward. Obviously, if the rezoning isn't passed by the board, then the special exception is moot. But if it is, if we haven't had the special exception hearing before the Planning Commission, then we're in a procedural sort of quandary. So, I'm looking at...
We might have to go to legal on this, but I will tell you this much. The chairman is not happy going forward with the proffers as they stand now. And you've got to get a step one before you can do step two, unless legal counsel corrects me.
So we held the two public hearings together, which is why the public got 6 minutes to speak instead of 3 minutes to speak.
Yes, sir.
So we did hold public hearings on both cases at the same time.
Yes, sir.
Did he? Okay. Oh, okay.
Now, I will ask of legal counsel, am I on solid ground in deferring both matters to give council as well as planning the opportunity to iron out any differences that they have with the proffers?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This commission opened and closed the public hearing for both the rezoning application as well as the special exception application. So that procedural component is complete, and it's prepared for action, whether that action be to postpone consideration, to allow the staff and the applicant, and obviously we're happy to work with them on the proffers. I think this is the first, right? It hasn't been deferred. So the commission has 100 days to make a recommendation. So that action would be appropriate on both the rezoning and special exception.
Thank you, sir. All right, commissioners, I'm going to make a motion that we defer both of these matters until our next regular meeting in order to have the differences in the proffers ironed out. Is there a second?
I got a question. Okay. Do the question after the second, or can I do it now?
Questions come after the second.
Okay.
This motion by the chair, seconded by the vice chair. Any discussion? Any questions?
Can we defer for the 100 days? Could you put that in? The reason I'm asking that question is because my other concern is, and everybody tonight has said that nobody knows at this point what Dominion is going to do. I don't know if we would be closer to having a trace of an idea of the path of the power lines in 100 days versus 30 days. It would just give us a little more time just to see what would happen. I mean, that was my other concern, was the trajectory of the power lines going across the county.
We all share that concern, and I'm going to take a stab at it, but I'm going to defer to Mr. Pennington. I don't believe that within 60 days we would even have an answer from Dominion Electric as to where the power lines are going.
No, you're not going to have an answer from Dominion as to where the power lines are going within 100 days.
We
And
can defer
also-
more than once, can't we?
You can defer more than once, but 100 days is the maximum. So
Yeah.
if you deferred to 90 days, it means you have to take action at the next meeting. And so you wouldn't be able to defer again. And so, but we won't know where the power lines are going within 100 days.
And just to clarify, so, everything was said tonight. So we've already approved 2 data centers, and then there are 4 possible by rights. And then, so this is a new one, correct?
There are 3 by rights, and this is a new one, yes. There's two approved, and then 3 by rights, and this is a new one.
So we probably have 5. We don't know that. And so this is a new one.
Yes.
This would be 6. Yeah,
Just want to make sure I got all my numbers correct.
This would be number 6 if approved.
Yeah, Mr. Hughes thought it would be number 7. But I don't know.
Any further discussion?
Okay, so for my clarity, so we're deferring till the next meeting?
Well, let's discuss that.
That's what's on the table here.
Okay.
That's what's on the table.
Okay.
How long do we defer it?
Well, we say we can defer again, so I guess the next meeting, if there's a concern, we can defer, then we'll have.
I hate placing any excess burden on the applicant, but until it's right with us, I don't think we can go forward. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may, that's absolutely no problem. We would accept a deferral if it's not ready. Of course, and I know there's 100 days, but if it's not ready and y'all are still not ready, I don't want to speak for the applicant, but he's not going to want to go forward until you're ready. So if we're not going to let the 100 days get in the way of continuing to work on getting it just right.
We appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you
absolutely.
so much.
We appreciate it. So yes, we want to work with the commission and staff and not let time get in the way. So thank you.
All right, so commissioners, do you want to go 30 days or 90 days? It's your pleasure.
30, we can defer again.
All right, we will defer it until our next regular meeting.
See what staff and what y'all worked out in the next 30 days and see if we can get some questions answered.
All right, so the motion has been made, it's been seconded, it's been discussed. All those in favor of deferral for 30 days signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries.
Just to clarify, I don't know that the dates line up exactly. The action will be to postpone to your next meeting, whether or not, I don't know that's 30 days exactly, but
Oh, okay.
Next meeting.
to your
our
April
next
24th meeting.
Our next
Okay.
regular meeting.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
agreed.
All right, motion has carried. We thank you so much. All right. Next item, text amendment 01-2025.
So good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. This is a text amendment that we've discussed on a number of occasions related to private schools. The proposed amendments to various sections of the zoning ordinance in order to accommodate new definitions and allowances of these definitions within specified zoning districts, including the RP, RR, R2, RR5, and B1. So included in your packet with the proposed amendments and the definitions, and for the public's information, we have this ordinance amendment would create private schools in the RR and RP district as by right uses, and would establish in Article 2 in the definitions an educational use, and with two types of educational uses, an educational use indoor and an educational use outdoor. And as I noted, it would include in Article 4 in the RP, private schools as a permitted use. In Section 5 in the special exception, educational uses outdoor. In Article 5, rural residential R2, private schools would be by right. And then continuing on in Section 4, special exceptions, educational uses outdoor. In Article 5, in RR5, private schools would be permitted by right. And then in Section 5, permitted as conditional use would be educational uses outdoors. And then the B1 district as a permitted use by right would be educational use indoor. So this follows along lines of the discussions that we had here at the commission meeting and in the information that you received after the last meeting. So if you don't have any, I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Mr. Hughes, Article 9, Section 2, uses permitted by right, item 36, educational use indoor. That would be like karate school or culinary school, that sort of thing.
Correct. Your tax prep school, your, yes.
Thank you.
I had one question. I don't know if it, in reading the Section 5 special exception uses with Board of Supervisors approval, number 35. When I looked in the book, it showed it had the word reserve there. Was that just to hold a spot? Okay, it was just to hold a placeholder. Okay, all right, gotcha.
Commissioners, you have any questions? All right,
Ready for a motion?
we're ready for a motion.
Chairman, I'd like to.
Public hearing.
Oh, public hearing. Oh,
Wait a minute, that's right, we do have to do a public hearing. My bad. The public hearing regarding text amendment 01-2025 is now open. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak regarding this matter? Seeing no one coming forward, public hearing is now closed. All right, commissioners, if there be no further discussion, is there a motion?
Chairman, whereas the public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practices warrant the approval of text -01-2025, I recommend that it be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors with recommendation of approval.
I will second that.
All right. Motion by Mr. Rollins, seconded by Mr. Williams. If there is no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. This will be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors with recommendation of approval. Good job, Mr. Hughes. I think you got the bases covered on that text amendment.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank
you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, next matter. Comp Plan Amendment 01-2025.
So there again, this is a matter that has been before you. We've had a couple discussions on it. This is a comp plan amendment to add a plan prepared by the George Washington Regional Commission, a small area bike and pedestrian plan into the Ladysmith area. The plan would provide bicycle and pedestrian accommodations along Route 1 from Campbell's Creek subdivision south to Lake Caroline subdivision, and along Ladysmith Road from Lake Landor subdivision across Route 1 to Madison Elementary School. The plan also provides connectivity to the surrounding subdivisions of Ladysmith Village, Pendleton, Bridlewood / South Village, and the Ladysmith Industrial Park. The plan included shared use paths along the two major roadways and a combination of paths and sidewalks in the subdivision. The plan, if incorporated, excuse me, into the comprehensive plan, the improvements would be there, and when road improvement projects came along, they would be included as a part of those road improvements. And it also allows applicants, if they bring cases along or have developments along these areas, to facilitate those improvements that would be shown in the comprehensive plan. So I'm happy to run through a presentation if you like, but I said we talked about this a number of times. I do know Mr. Rollins had a couple questions, and so I'm happy to entertain those, but it is at the commission's will whether or not you want to see the entire presentation that kind of lays out what the network is. And as you look on your screen, it's kind of an outline of those areas where we were looking at pedestrian accommodations and combination of paths, sidewalks.
No, I don't know. So, Mr. Hughes, I just had a couple of quick questions. Do we know which side the sidewalk is going to be on Landor? And then my second question is, if it's on the left-hand side, will it be the ability for people on the right-hand side to safely get across the street? Because there have been lots of accidents right there at the front gate in Landor.
Yeah, it's a very good question. So I would say at this point, probably not. There are a couple factors that would impact that. One would be if there was some type of development that came along, say on either side of the road, and then these improvements would be incorporated as a part of that. The other could potentially be a road improvement by the Commonwealth or by the county. If the county decided we want to make those improvements, then we would decide at that point where those improvements would go. Ideally, they would be on both sides of the road. But if not, then certainly you would make accommodations for pedestrians to cross the road to get to the shared use path. And I would say out in that area, I would suspect the most appropriate pedestrian and bike accommodation would be a shared use path versus a sidewalk. That would set off of the road quite a bit. If you're familiar with the VDOT standard for shared use paths, it's a 10-foot path, and there's significant, I think it's I want to say a 10-foot separation from back of edge of pavement to where the path begins. So it's quite a bit of separation. Essentially what you see where Ladysmith Road was improved.
Wait a minute,
Well, if this is what they want, and we were a part of that commission, it scares me because we know what's going to happen eventually. But let it go forward, if that's what they want.
I'm not sure I understand your comment. What is it?
Well, my comment is somebody's going to get hurt, especially with a bike lane.
Well, that's what I said. That's the purpose of the path. So
this is not going to be roadside?
It would. So you see the improvement that's on Ladysmith Road right now, where the shared use path is set a considerable distance from the road. That's what we're really talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we wouldn't. That's why I said it's more appropriate in this area for a shared use path versus a sidewalk. You might see a sidewalk, say, at the intersection of Ladysmith Road and Route 1. A sidewalk may be appropriate in that area versus out in the more rural portions of the roadway where in terms of character, sidewalks aren't necessarily the appropriate character for out in a rural portion of,
Exactly. So we're not talking about bicyclists going up and down Route 1. Okay, that's the way I was interpreting, so I withdraw my remarks.
That's where it is now, up and down Route 1.
Yeah, we need to get it off.
Get it off.
Right,
Okay,
right.
I'm with you.
I forgot, we didn't talk a whole lot about signage in detail, right? So, the bikers need to know to ring the little bell when they're coming up on a hiker so the hiker can move up. Because I hike a lot on the trails in the area, and the Heritage Trail downtown Fredericksburg. Bikers are allowed, but they got to remember to ring that bell so we can move up.
I agree 100%.
You can ring my bell.
And Dr. Horton, there's a slide on the screen that kind of indicates the type of improvements that you would have to assist with, safety for pedestrians and to warn motorists that you might have, pedestrians in the area. So.
Commissioners, anyone have any questions? Is there a motion?
I hold a public hearing.
Good. Public hearing is now open on the comp plan amendment. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing no one coming forward, public hearing is now closed. Now, commissioners, if there is no further discussion, is there a motion?
I'll make it.
Go
Whereas,
ahead.
thank you. Whereas the public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good planning, land use, and zoning practice warrants the approval of the proposed comprehensive plan amendment, I recommend a comprehensive plan amendment be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval.
Second. A second.
Motion by Mr. Williams, seconded by Mr. Young. Is there any further discussion? There being no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries. Any and all matters. Any and all matters?
You know what? No one's here at the moment, but I was hoping there would be. We all got, probably everyone here gets letters, and then sometimes people ask us to call them back and things like that. And it's hard to keep up with all of them. It's, maybe staff could let anybody that is trying to contact us. I'm available right after these meetings, for the citizens, because I can't always call everybody back or answer all the letters. Or everybody probably is related to me in my district, so they're on me,
That's your problem.
Hey, sometimes it's a good thing. So I'm available after this meeting if anybody's watching the video or any other meeting.
Mr. Pennington, Mr. Hughes had mentioned the possibility of getting some business cards, like maybe 250 apiece or 100 or 10. If maybe we could get some follow-up on that.
Yeah, I'll check into that tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. And we do have some any and all matters real quick. If you can just hold on one second.
We can hold on.
We want to go.
That's right. Past my bedtime.
Go for that.
My pajamas are calling.
Any and all matter?
No, sir, we don't have any and all matters.
All right, sir. Maybe next month a presentation would be in order.
On?
George.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So we'll give him notification on that to drag his skinny rear end in here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, is there a motion to adjourn to our April 24th, 2025 meeting?
So moved.
So moved, so seconded by everyone. Yep. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank